right, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's Discovery Day, a live stream where our focus is bringing you those stocks which have that multi-bagger upside potential. And we are back with Stria Resources with Dean Hanisch, the CEO. Stria right now is one of the hottest stocks in the battery metals lithium space. Stock was up as much as 70% yesterday. I think we had a record volume, over 1 million shares just in Canada alone. We're going to talk about the reasons why that's happening, and is there more upside potential to come? Dean, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dean, so again, investors are getting very excited about the Stria story. We're seeing, some of the smartest players in the resource sector and the microcap sector are getting very excited about Stria because, again, I follow some of the commentary on message boards, forums, places like CEO.ca. Some of the big players are getting bullish on Stria. They're saying this thing has multi-bagger upside potential. So people are waking up. And of course, the news yesterday is what we've all been waiting for. Now, again, the key thing is what people have been looking at is you're in James Bay, Quebec. We've called it the Saudi Arabia of lithium, just like Saudi Arabia is, the epicenter of oil. James Bay, Quebec is really the epicenter of lithium battery metals in North America. And you have your project there, Pontax, and Pontax 2, which we'll talk about, is surrounded by all the majors. That's Brunswick, Patriot, Lyft. These are billion-dollar companies all surrounding your project. And now we came out yesterday with your partner that's in the project that has 51%, right? Cygnus Metals. They came out with their the maiden resource estimate. Again, this is conforming to the Australian standards because they're an ASX listed company. But they're saying you have, I'm looking at the numbers here, inferred resource estimate, maiden resource estimate, 10.1 million metric tons at 1.04% Li2 lithium, right? Based on the central area of known mineralization, and we can go into all the details. Dean? Uh-oh, we lost Dean. Dean? Okay, stand by, everybody. Okay, looks like we have an internet connection there. Okay, guys, stand by. I think we lost Dean for a second. I think his internet is down. I'm going to put up the map on the screen, and hopefully we'll have him back in just a second. Hang on, guys. All right, guys, we're waiting just a few seconds. Hopefully, we're going to get Dean back on. I think he lost his internet, but again, just stand by 2 minutes. He'll be back. It'll be definitely worth your while to wait. while he comes back. Okay, I think it's coming up here. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to keep this map up on the screen here for you. Hang on, where's the map? Okay. I'm going to leave this map up on the screen for you until Dean comes back. And we can continue with this live stream. This is, again, really one of... Okay, here we go. Dean? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Dean, you there? Can you hear me?
I am.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Okay. We're back. Okay. So hang on a second. We're going to restart. The internet, is the internet stable over there right now? Okay. 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 You know what? We're going to restart the whole thing again. But if you can just lower the camera a little bit so we're at the same level. Hang on, like that. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Great. Okay, Dean. I'm going to restart the thing and we're just. I'm going to edit it, repost it afterwards. But we're actually live, so don't say anything dirty. All right. It's a family channel. Okay. Hang on. Okay. So let me start again, and we'll repost this. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Wall Street Reporter's Discovery Day live stream, where we bring you those stocks which have that multi-bagger upside potential. Today, we are back with Stria Resources, one of the hottest stocks in the lithium space, battery metals. I would say even the EV space, because the stock was up 70% yesterday, over 1 million shares of volume. And the reason is simple. Stria's property is in James Bay, Quebec. The Saudi Arabia of lithium, as we've been calling it, surrounded by all the battery metals, lithium majors, Patriot Metals, Brunswick, Lift. And yesterday, their partner, Cygnus, came out with the maiden resource estimate. And we're saying we've got 10.1 million metric tons. It looks like a little bit over 1% lithium. Dean, tell us what this means.
Well, thanks again for having me back. What it means, I think, is that, the Cygnus guys were really, like I had mentioned before, really impressed with the speed in which they work. They spent the money, put it in the ground. They did 11,000 meters and in under a year came out with this resource, which really is outstanding to be able to come out with the resource estimate they came out with after just a year of signing the deal. To be a real player, we keep saying it, Jack, and I've told you before, you got to have 10 million metric tons and you have to be over 1%. I mean, this is what other companies in the area are doing. and they're going into production and looking at, going feasibility studies and what have you. So that's where you need to be. This is a York estimate. This is not Stria putting out the estimate. I have to be very clear, because Canadian guidelines are 43101. Australian guidelines use York. So they're in charge of the project. They put it out in York. We're really pleased with it, and tons of room to grow. Like, one of the most exciting things about this whole thing was that when it came out, they did it on 11,000 meters of drilling. So their cost per ton of resource worked out to like $55 or $40, 49 Canadian, or 55 Australian per ton of resource. So that's a great metrics for any investor. I mean, we own 49% of it still, that, someone's going out and drilling, and for that amount of money, 55 cents, per ton. If you're able to get that, that's great value. Meaning they're going back out to drill in September. They're going to add to the resource drilling. And I mean, if you're spending, every $1 million, and you just multiply that by 55 cents Australian, and you're adding, if they can continue that, this thing is a great return on investment as an investor. And as a shareholder of Stria, we're really pleased with that number.
But you know what? Let's talk. I want to kind of make this easy to understand for the average investor, right? So, again, this is what we've been looking at. Now, again, these numbers, you've been talking about 10 million metric tons, again, based on the Australian standards, right? Which they have, again, I guess slightly technically different than the Canadian standards, but yes, it's geology is geology, right? Okay, so 10 million metric tons. Some of the comps are, you talked about the comps in the space for lithium that gets, they get 100 million plus valuations, right? And you have 49%. So in theory, Stria should be trading at roughly 49 million valuation right now. It's not. The stock is trading at about 7 million valuation, which represents an upside. So that's, again, people can do the math, right? The comps in the space, the comparable companies in the lithium space that have 10 million metric tons, they're trading at, again, $100 million valuations. Stria has 49% of this piece over here. So they should be, in theory, 49 million valuation. Again, we're not saying it's going there. We're not saying, but, it gives you kind of some of the potential upside possibilities. Where it goes, will it go to 20? Nobody knows. We don't know anything. But again, the maiden resource estimate is out. These are the facts on the ground. This is the scientific evidence. And now, here's the thing. What's exciting about this is you're really just getting started. This is, you're not going to Disney World, right? You're not, I know we're in August, but you're not going, now that this resource estimate, you're not retiring. You're not going to be playing golf and going to Disneyland and all this. I'm going to pop up a map, because I think this is really what you've been talking about. This is the real upside for investors. So in other words, we have this kind of deep built-in upside profit potential. Again, I'm not saying that this is, there's no profit. Again, to be clear, we're not making any projections, but based on the comps, markets, companies trading at, 100 million valuations for 10 million metric tons, your thing should be 49, you're trading at 7. So in theory, there is a potential path for Stria to kind of close that valuation gap to, 40 million plus, which is a multiple of where it is now. But the upside is this Pontax 2. So I'm going to pop this on the screen, Dean. Hang on a second. Hang on.
Yeah,
Pontax 2.
I'll just add to one thing while you have this up on the screen. So I think the big thing is that the Australian market was ahead of ours. The Canadian market is behind. So the valuations you're seeing, those 100 million, they're coming on the ASX because their investors understand hard rock lithium. They've made money at it. They're investing in it. So you'd think at some point when the Canadian US market comes back, those valuations are going to close, because it's real. These are real.
It's an arbitrage.
It's a real commodity, right? We're behind for whatever reasons, in the market as a whole, the TSX, the US market. But eventually, that's the play for people too, is that's going to close. So like you're saying, 100 million market cap, we have 49%. They can earn up to 70%. We're still, even if you discount us to 30, that's 30 million. We're at 7. So, you do the math, and we have $4 million worth of cash
Oh,
equivalents as
right.
well.
Right.
And,
Hold on. Oh, I forgot.
so,
It gets even better, right? So the story, this is incredible. This is like it really it's the type of play exactly that we look for. You have the situation where the stock right now is trading at $7 million valuation. Okay, so Stria right now under $7 million valuation, Canadian, right? Now you got $2 million in cash, right? I think you have 2 million plus in shares of what do you call it, of
Cygnus
Cygnus,
Metals.
which is the partner in this. So you have
Yep.
roughly 4 million plus, let's call it liquid, liquid assets. Essentially, the market's valuing this thing at, I don't know, 2 million, 3 million valuation. And I don't think people are even realize what you have with this Pontax 2, which we're going to show on the screen. And again, so the upside is this valuation gap that we see based on the Australian valuations that we see companies with 10 million metric tons, 100 million valuation. Technically, your thing should be worth at 49. Again, there are nuances. There are some nuances, but geography, this and that. So again, it may not be 49, might be 30. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is there is a multi-bagger upside in the stock.
Well, I think the big Jack is that when you come into a company, I'm an investor too, right? I invest in juniors. I've made money, lost money. You want to come in if you're trading close to your cash equivalent and you have a resource. This is when you want to get in, right? Are you going to trade below cash? Like it's one of these things. That's why we've been buying. You see, the insiders have been buying. The issue is not. Again, I always say it, the government's in, the subsidies are in from the US, Canadian government, Quebec government, the resources there. The only person that hasn't quite caught into this market is the US and Canadian investor. But at some point, because of all these subsidies and money going out and the protectionism of having their own critical minerals to support their own industries, it's going to hit. So I would just suggest any investor out there, in general, never mind just Stria, but in general, you want to be getting into the critical mineral space before it hits, especially North American critical minerals, where companies are being paid to use them. Here's a company in front of you with $4 million. We just had a York resource estimate. It's not ours, 43101, but it's Australian. Australia is a Commonwealth country. We're not talking about a backwards mining people. They're very advanced people in mining, right? And they came out with this estimate. And that's the valuations they're getting. So at some point, a commodity is a commodity. The whole bridge has to gap. You can't have, sugar being this price over here.
Right. Well, this is
it's going to happen. So that's really the point.
Yeah. This is the whole point. By the way, we're going to open up to questions because the whole point of this live stream is I want to get audience questions. We're going to have some very good questions. Again, we see this. What I call this, I wrote a whole book on this 10-bagger blueprint, and we look for stocks which have that, I call it the built-in profit. When you have this valuation gap arbitrage, right? Again, anybody's welcome to get this on Amazon, 10-bagger blueprint.
Where's mine? Send me one.
I'll get you one. Yeah, I'll ship it to Canada. No, but what's interesting is this: Stria meets many of those criteria, and I'll walk through it. One is we like to get into stocks that are at a again deep discount to intrinsic value, that have this valuation gap arbitrage. You have this what I call a built-in profit, meaning the stock is trading like you have at 7 million valuation. The comps are at 40 million plus based on what you have, right? And we have there's a pathway to get there. There's more drilling going to happen, and there's multiple catalysts for upside. Again, we're going to show the map. You have this blue sky potential here. And what else is there? Oh, and it's also you actually have intrinsic value. You're actually trading at 4 million, essentially cash in equivalents. You're trading at a 6-7 million valuation. So it's been really de-risked. In other words, you have an asymmetric setup. You're paying 3 million or less. Your upside is 4. It's an insane setup. And the market now is one more thing, Dean, from the technical perspective. The charts are looking incredible. The stock is above the 15 to 200-day moving average. That is extremely bullish. So we're in a new uptrend. That's, again, it's not me saying it. It's the charts are saying it. But before we get into the audience questions, I actually want to talk about some of the blue sky potential, which people need to understand. It's not, the story, I think, again, from an investor's perspective, the story is, we talk about this thing, buy the rumor, sell the news, and we see that happen a little bit, right? I think the story is people are focused on this maiden resource, and at some point, this valuation gap, I think, will close. But the upside is this Pontax 2, the blue sky. Dean, I'm going to pop the map up on the screen. Can you tell our audience about this new project that you picked up, which is right in this, Saudi Arabia of lithium space?
Yeah, so you see where Pontax Central is. We picked up Pontax 2, very difficult to get property. There were people from Ottawa, so we were able to get it. We looked at it, and from there, we were able to pick up to the, again, northeast of it, the VCT option that you see to complete it. And then we did a bunch of tantalum oxide grain sampling that we had, and we ran the numbers, and the numbers were off the charts. So like for us, I mean, as great as Pontax Central is and will continue to be, and they'll continue to drill it and I'm sure grow that resource, you can see on the right, the lime green, that's where Pontax Central is in that cluster. The rest of those red dots are all from the government, the same work that was done with us. And then you can see in the dark green, where all that cluster of red dots are, that's Pontax 2. So, I mean, we know from Pontax Central what the sampling numbers were. So given that we had that, and now we look at Pontax 2 and how high and basically they were off the charts, and technically they're even double that because of the amount of kilograms that were used. We had half of the kilogram space. We're excited to go in there. And if it wasn't for the fires, we'd already be there.
Dean, hang on one second. Okay, Dean, we got questions coming in right now from investors. Eric Sue, Eric, welcome back. Given the great results from the initial testing of Pontax 2 property, has Cygnus inquired about a JV on Pontax 2, since already they're doing phenomenally with Pontax 1?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had that discussion because, our motto really, and the strength that we have, is to pick up good properties, do some work on them, and prove that there's something there. So, those anomalies are great, but there's no point giving away the farm, if you've got oil underneath it, right? I mean, you might as well go drill some holes, make sure, prove it up, de-risk it. Then we could talk to someone about that.
Again, one of the key things investors need to realize, because we've got a lot of new people coming into the Stria story, and I highly suggest they watch some of the videos before, because again, one of the things, again, I talk about it in the 10-bagger blueprint, is CEO quality, and it's very important to have a CEO who's focused on maximizing shareholder value. And this is what, again, your focus has been. You're an investor at heart. You're a resource investor. You talked about on previous live streams all the things you said you were going to do, and you have been doing them. So you've shown people that you have credibility, and you said, look, our goal is to have blue sky, but for ourselves, you want to maximize value. We're not just going to give away everything right here, right? You want to get the maximum for that you have, right?
Well, listen, I'm not your typical mining CEO. Okay, I've been in mining before. We were successful in building something and selling it. But what we're concerned about, even in a bad market, we're concerned about just doing the right thing, and then hopefully the right thing eventually gets rewarded by share price. I report to our chairman, who's a very successful businessman, again, not in mining, but in building businesses. So our mindset comes from private businesses where, you have expenses, revenues, you got to build it. We're very frugal about how we spend our money. We spend it efficiently, and we're looking to do the best moves that we can. That's why we did our project with the Australians, because they could afford to drill, and it was cheaper and better for us to allow them to do it and keep more of the project with less dilution. So if you look at our stock shareholders, you look at our share, our share structure itself, it's very tight. There's 25 million. We have 4 million in the bank. We haven't had to go out to raise money. We're trying to raise money intelligently through these deals so that we are able to keep our share structure tight and build value. And I mean, that's really what it's about. We're here to build value for our shareholders and for ourselves. And so, that's what you're going to get from us. And if, you look at the background, you go on our website, you see who we are and what we do, we're here to build value. I see that other question. What's next?
We're gonna jump into the question. So again, the thing is this, and everything that you're saying has been backed up. People can look at the track record, look at everything that's been done. It's not, you're not, doing all sorts of crazy deals or raising all sorts of money. Everything has been very well thought out. Again, you brought in these guys who are experts in lithium, and they're really experts in the space. Your partners at Cygnus, and they've put in a ton of money into this. I mean, it's massive validation, and we're seeing, that they were right. They've actually found, what they've been looking for. Now you have this again still up. We're going to talk about this Pontax too, because again, this is where we're going to see most of the upside, which you have 100% of right now, right? So,
yep.
Eric is asking, what are the next steps for Pontax 2, which is this beautiful map.
So Pontax 2, I mean, we're going to follow up on those, extremely high grades, putting us in the 97th percentile for those high grade tantalum oxide anomalies. And so, we're trying to get into to do the work. We were trying to get in to do the work. Of course, everyone's familiar. There's been forest fires, pretty well savaged, Quebec, 4% of the forest there. The road was closed. So we're unable to get in for a number of factors. We couldn't get in. Then the fires blocked us from coming in. And then we were allowed to go in. Then the helicopters were all sequestered by the government. So we've just been going back and forth. But we're hoping now, that at the end of August, we'll be able to get in there and do the work. So the next steps is to go do mapping, chip sampling. Where are these high grade anomalies coming from? We have some education because we know from Pontax Central, we have the numbers, we have the whole region because it was done by the government. And so we understand, like from Pontax Central, where we found these till samples, where did we actually drill and hit? So we have some knowledge to that.
Okay. And again, anybody just joining, we got the map of Stria Resources, their property. Again, this is James Bay, Quebec, the elephant country when it comes to lithium. You got the majors there. You got Patriot Metals all around. Now, again, you're the green project, Pontax 2, which is you own 100%, plus you got the option. And Pontax Central is to the right, I guess, up right. That's where the maiden resource estimate came out from Cygnus, again, based on the Australian standards there. We're showing some very, very significant lithium there. Now, again, so you're surrounded by all these guys. And here's the thing. One thing, we should bring up to anybody that's new to the story is that, a lot of times when people hear about lithium or they hear about any resources, a lot of times it's a project. It's a project which is in the middle of nowhere. So in order to actually extract the metal, to extract the minerals, it becomes very, very expensive, and it becomes almost uneconomical a lot of times. Here, you are in North America, you're in Quebec, you got a road. Okay, so you got the road, you got infrastructure, you got lithium processing facilities nearby. Quebec, Canada, pouring a ton of cash into the space, into and again, you're near where the car industry is in the U.S., which is Detroit, etc. So the lithium is great location. We see the road up on that map. You got the Pontax, and again, we're in the early stages of that. So there's plenty of blue sky. Now, again, you mentioned last time you were on, which was a couple of weeks ago, you were going to go out there. You were waiting for the helicopter, but unfortunately, the helicopter is not available because of the forest fires. Again, you're not making this up. Literally, all the helicopters are being used for this helicopter, the fire stuff there. So hopefully this happens a couple more weeks. Let's see. We've got a couple questions. I want to get to some questions. Quick question here. Does the company have any debt? Is there any debt?
We don't have any debt.
There's no debt. It's all cash. Cash, $2 million, right? How much cash do you have?
Yeah, we have $2 million cash. We have 2 million of their shares. They're a lot more liquid, so I mean that cash that could be turned into cash quite quickly. Yeah, and we obviously, to continue to get their percentage, they need to give us more cash and spend more money. So yeah, we don't have any debt. We don't owe anything.
And of
We owe
course,
is if we take the options on both those properties, they're very small payments that we would have to do on Pontax 2 and issue some shares, but it's very reasonable.
And of course, again, the whole idea, Dean, correct me if I'm wrong. The whole idea with Stria Resources is to maximize shareholder value, to essentially take all the money that you make, that you have, and reinvest into other lithium projects to kind of snowball this thing and to hopefully end up with something that could be worth a significant amount of money. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we have a nose for getting good properties. I think we have the best partner consultants that we use in Quebec. I mean, IOS Engineering has been there for 40 years. So, I think it helps when you have really good people who've been working, one specific area through so many different cycles. So they've worked through gold, through nickel, through copper, and say now it's lithium, but they've been on those properties before. They have information, they know what they're doing. So we're able to, piggyback off that. I think we've got obviously a couple really good projects, and we're looking for more. I mean, I think the key is, you have to do the right things at the right time. And so part of it is we need to grow. This is the Saudi Arabia, Quebec of lithium. And the more property we have and the more good property we have that we can prove is strong, when everything comes together, it's almost like doing a land assembly for real estate. Like,
yeah,
hey,
it's
guys,
a land grab, right?
Come put up your condos now. We bought these 40 individual separate homes and made a land assembly. Now you can go build your future condo park. So this is what we're doing. And we have to prove that there's something there, which we did at Pontax. And then we got a great partner, better than we are, efficient, world-class leadership, and world-class background and experience. And now we're going to do it again. And we're going to keep going and going. And we want to, which I'm going to say again, and I'll keep to my word. When we sell these projects out and we get shares in, we'll be divvying out a majority to the individual shareholders directly, which no company does, because we're about driving shareholder value. We want people to buy this stock. We want them to hold the stock, and we will be good stewards. Our goal is to be a good steward of your investment. If you believe in North American critical minerals like we do, like the government does, and like the US government does, and the Canadian, this is what we want to be. And so that's why if you go back and whatever we tell you we're going to do, so far we have done, and we will continue, because this is what we believe in. We believe this is the future. There will be a decoupling between Canadian or North American lithium and lithium overseas, because you got so many subsidies being pouring out. They're paying you to use local lithium. They're paying you to use local copper or any other critical mineral as they move forward for the EV market.
Yeah. So again, I think, again, from an investor's perspective, we all know the EV boom is, this is a generational mega trend. We're still, again, in the early stages. Again, it's one of the things, talk about, 10-bagger blueprint. Stocks, you want to get into stocks, which are part of generational mega trends, the EV boom. And if you want a pure play on the EV boom, you got to own battery metals. We don't know who the winners are going to be in EV. We don't know if it's going to be Tesla. It may not be. Maybe it'll be, BMW. They're coming out with beautiful cars that have. Who knows what it'll be, right? Rolls Royce is doing an EV. You got Lucid. You got a million Neo. You got all these kind. But one thing is, they all need to have lithium. So it's like you got the gold rush. These guys are selling the picks and shovels. It's like the lithium that's the linchpin in the whole battery metal space. Without the battery, in the EV space, without the battery metals, you got no lithium. And Elon Musk is talking about, all these guys are talking about it. Actually, a lot of the tech investors are actually coming into the battery metal stock. So I think we could see some potential for valuations to explode once actually battery metal stocks become more of a mainstream investment. Again, this is another catalyst for stocks like Stria. Now, to recap again, for anybody brand new to the story, Dean, what you've been saying is your focus really is maximizing value, doing what you're best at, which is finding the land, doing this kind of land grab, finding the best possible land where this lithium might be, and then bringing in the experts, who know how to extract it, who know how to mine it, who know how to explore, et cetera, et cetera. And you're doing exactly that, and it's working. So we're in the early stages of it. Next question here: are you looking for potential? This is early. Right? You're not. That's going to be probably Cygnus is going to do that, right? They're going to be the ones selling the lithium, not you.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you could expect there is that Cygnus would be the ones doing that, and perhaps at some point even before that, Cygnus would maybe want to take out a larger percentage, like pay us up to our 30%, or take the company out in total, or the project at least, so that they could do something like that.
Next question he's asking, okay, what is the best justification to invest in Stria when compared? So I guess he's asking, should he buy Stria or Cygnus? Because he says Cygnus is involved in multiple locations in James Bay and has more shareholdings. Fair question. Dean, what's the answer?
Yeah, well, I would say the answer is this: one trades on the ASX, one trades on the TSX Venture. The ASX is trading at a much higher multiple. They're getting their value, whereas the TSX is not getting its value, and not just Stria, but in general. So I guess the hedge would be, if you think at some point it's going to come back and that the markets will align themselves and you won't have this arbitrage, I would say, let's assume if they're a 60 million market cap, they have a resource estimate. Even if we said 2/3 of that is the Stria project. Okay, they have a resource estimate that they came out with York, and they're getting $40 million worth of value, let's say, for it, right? What are we getting for our 49.5%? We should be trading at 20. So, to me, the math would be if you're in an arbitrage, you go for the lower one, right? The one that is not getting its value, to me, is the safest thing. They do have some other shareholdings and some other projects, but they haven't drilled them yet. They will. But yeah, I think we're Cygnus Metals shareholders, so we think it's a great buy. They're undervalued right now as well, but we think we're even more undervalued given our financial position and Pontax too, and proximity and just from the tantalum numbers that we have to get on. But yeah, I think they're both are good bets. I mean, Cygnus is undervalued right now.
Next question. Jamal is saying, if you are not spending money on drilling, buy back shares.
Yeah, I mean, a small company, our goal is, if we spend the money that we have in the bank to buy back shares, we can't go forward and drill Pontax 2. Pontax 2, we're excited about. We need to get out there and do some mapping, sampling, drilling. So, it's better for us, I think, take our money. It's a good idea when you're a bigger company, but the size of company we have, we're trying to keep our share structure very tight. It's a very good question, but I think for us, the market would punish us for something.
I'm completely
turn some more value
against that. Yeah, I mean, no company, in my opinion, again, this whole thing buying back shares is especially for micro cap companies, it's the dumbest thing they can. I mean, it's a stupid. Even for big companies, I think it's really like is the word. Maybe I'm a communist. I think it might.
I think big companies, it makes more sense.
Put the money, reinvest the money in your business. That's your business. You're not in the business of speculating in more financial engineering. Companies, when they get involved in financial engineering stuff, it doesn't long term, and it doesn't end up well. A company should reinvest in what they know best, which is reinvest in the business. And this is you're producing value now. At some point, the market's going to wake up. It's already waking up. We saw yesterday. We got a preview of what's going to happen. The preview is stock was up 70% yesterday.
I mean, I think there's times. Listen, if I had $20 million in the bank cash, would I buy back all of our shares? Yes, I would, because I'd still have 13 million to go dump into Pontax.
Well, that's right.
Because we're undervalued. But I mean, not many junior mining companies have that luxury, right? So we don't have that luxury. We got to take that money, hit Pontac Central with it, prove what's there. You know, it could be exciting. We get something going and then we do it all over again, or we do it ourselves. I mean, you know, we're a drill hole away. The numbers are off the charts. So like, do I want to go and find, if I think I've got a Lotto 649 ticket, one of 1,000 lying around in my backyard, I'm going to go grab and pick up each one and check it. Right. I mean, I need to go check now. That's what we need to do. We're excited to get there. And as soon as this fire thing's over, we're going to run up there and do this.
Yeah, you know, Dean, it's interesting what you said, a drill hole away. The reality, what makes resource mining stocks exciting is, you know, when you have a good project, when you're in a great location, a great, you know, district, again, when you have the right setup, which you have clearly here, you're really only a drill hole away from potentially I don't know, about a 10 bagger, maybe a 10 bagger or a multi-bagger stock upside. Again, what you saw yesterday, stock was up 70%, a million shares, is a preview. Investors are waking up. You know, the stock is, you know, based on the comps, based on a lot of measures, deeply undervalued. We've got a 6 million valuation. The comps in the space, based on, you know, the estimate that you have now, the maiden resource estimate should be around 49 million based on what you have, right? Let's discount it. Let's say it's not 49. Let's say it's half. Let's say it's 25. Okay, so you got a 5x potential. Okay, it's not a 10x. It's only a 5x. It's a question of when the market's going to wake up. And then on top of that, you got the blue sky. You got the catalyst, the upside, complete blue sky with Pontac 2, which the market's not even paying for yet. The market is, you know, you got the helicopter going there next week, right? You haven't even started drilling on that. That drill, when is the drilling going to start? That could be.
Yeah, so that one, I mean, I think the thing is, when you get those kind of high grade anomalies that were just off the charts, the key is to find out, okay, where till samples are moving, where did they come from? And if we can locate the pegmatites, like the actual rock where they're from, and do chip sampling and things like that, then we'll understand visually, and then we'll be able to target those drill holes. And that's what we're excited about. Like, to be honest, I'm super more excited about Pontac 2, just because, you know, you see that cluster and they're localized. So it's not like they're coming from the north, so that you would say, oh, well, they're all over on the north part, you probably don't have it. There's a lot of those are sitting below. So, you know, we just can't wait to get at that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I can't say it's the greatest thing. We can only tell you what's there now. Right. But do we want to follow up on these showings? 100%. I mean, they're the best ever in the region. So of course we're excited.
Okay. Now, by the way, we do have another video from about a month ago where you talked it was exclusively focused on, you went through what all this information means. But you know what? I just want to do it again. Let's do it again. I want to kind of give, you know, do a layman's kind of explanation of what we have here. So again, you just said, correct me if I'm wrong, you just said you are more excited about Pontac 2, which is this new thing that you have, that even this thing which we already got the resource estimate on. So this thing could be even bigger. Now, explain to us what these red dots mean, the significance. Now, the green area, this dark green, you own that, right? That's your the new project you own 100% of.
Yeah, we own the 100%, and then we even own to the right of it that little, you know, we optioned that out as well. I mean, we just have to make the payment for both of those, but they're at the tail end. So that little light kind of gray part to the right of it. And why we're excited is these are tantalum oxide grain samples, and generally, you know, they're till samples so that they could be moving with the iceberg, you know, heading from the north, heading, you know, southeast. So, you know, looking at those, you can see in the top portion, you know, they should be a lot more and bigger up there. I mean, if you expand it, you can see it better. But, you know, Pontac Central and the lime green, you can see the numbers there. And if you see those associated numbers, the numbers that we have on Pontac Central are great. The numbers we have at Pontac 2 are off the charts everywhere.
Okay, so these are bigger. The dots, the red dots.
What is the number?
What is the size of these red numbers?
Yeah, okay. So you're counting grain samples of tantalum within, say, 20 kilograms. So if you look at this shows you the government had done this and hired the same company to do this. So you can see all the different samples collected. You can see it below there, the 491. You can see them, the whole circle. Those are government numbers, okay? We know from Pontax ourselves the numbers in the lime green, central, and then we did 10 kilograms. The rest of everything you see there was done on 20 kilograms. Now it's like counting grains of pepper within, you know, a bunch of grains of sand. So obviously if you have 20 kilograms, you're going to count twice as much. But because technically you can't guarantee it, you're not supposed to do that. So even the numbers you see there, technically you could say are double. So for us, when we see those type of numbers, 790, which could really be 1500. You know, the highest we had was 383, I think, on Pontax Central. Some of these other numbers, 491. But when you see a cluster of numbers that are so high, of course, they came from somewhere, and we want to see what pegmatites, where did they come from? And it, you know, if you see to the north of it, they should be higher up there, bigger up there. It would mean that it's probably coming from further north. But because it's south, the chances are they're coming a little bit from further north, but good chance we have it on our ground. So we really, you know, if you're given a regional map and you did all of this, you're a layman. You don't have to be a genius to see which ground would you pick. So it's just a matter of following up. Are these, can we find them? Are they there? Where are they? And then we want to drill them. And that's why we're so excited about Pontax 2.
So okay, again, the way I'm looking at this is this. Okay, so these red dots essentially are quantities, you know, percentages of tantalum, which I guess is an indication that there's lithium in the area, right? So the bigger these red dots are, means there's more of this tantalum, which means theoretically there could be more of this lithium there, right? Now, it looks like your Pontax 2, which is that dark green, has these huge red dots. It's like a pizza, like giant pieces of pepperoni, compared to some of these other areas, like even the Pontax, your original one, has kind of smaller areas of these red dots, and your neighbors, which are the big major, the billion-dollar majors like Brunswick, Patriot, Lyft, their red dots are actually smaller, kind of more spread out. So in theory, this thing could be, Pontax 2 could be, let's just say, very exciting, potentially very exciting. We don't want to make any prognostication.
No, you can't say. I mean, we can only go by, you know, if it's
the data, the science. Follow the science, as they say.
They're just clues, right? I mean, it's a clue. So we're starting with the clue. If you started with clues, where's the body buried, and those are all, you know, blood stains, you kind of have to think what area is it? Looking at this, you can kind of see. So it's just a clue. And now we got to follow up on that clue. But the good thing is we have some knowledge because we followed up on those clues at Pontax Central. So we kind of understand this blood spatter and where did we find the dead body?
Let's use a more friendly.
I understand that it's not the best. I'm just saying, like, it could be a deer, it could be anything. I'm just saying it's a clue. Mining is an investigative type thing, right? You're an investigator. You don't really know exactly where it is. There's no magic wand. So you're looking for clues, and you start with the first clues. In this case, tantalum. You're going to find this tantalum only in, these lithium-bearing pegmatites and spodumene. And then next, we would take chip sampling from rocks, visually look at them, do some mapping. Then from that, we can analyze that. Then we would go back and say, okay, now let's drill, because drilling's expensive. So we want to make sure where we stick that drill is going to get us the most value. And that's one of the reasons we were so impressed with Cygnus, with the cost per ton of resource. I want to make sure when we drill that we're drilling in the right space. So it's just an investigative thing. We can't say for sure, but obviously if your first clues are all over the place, right, then the chances are better based on your initial clues, right?
Yeah. No, listen, it's really, it's very exciting. I mean, everything is pointing to some exciting, compelling upside possibilities. Again, we got to wait till you send a helicopter there, and you're gonna be going there, right? So you're gonna be bringing us back video from Pontax 2, and after that, potentially you might bring in, I don't know, you might bring in another partner, right? At some point to drill, and that's another, and then more value could be extracted.
I think we would drill it ourselves, to be honest,
Oh,
Jack, similar
okay.
to what we did before. Like we, again, as a shareholder and as shareholders, we're going to do better the more that we do, right? The more land assembly.
Right. Okay.
So if
So
we
the
go there,
initial,
here's 10 drill holes, they're off the charts. You're going to get more than if you just say, hey, we're not sure, this looks good. We're going to follow up on those clues. And if the clues are really, we hit drill holes that are outrageous, well, we wouldn't be looking to get anyone to do it. The stock price and the market will come and we'll raise money and do it ourselves. And then we'll just bring in pedigree and get rid of me and bring in somebody who's a wizard who's done this before and many times, right? I mean, the idea is to be successful at all costs.
Right. That's I like that. Your interests are aligned with investors because actually you're buying stock yourself in the open market. And there's only one reason that insiders buy shares is, there's many reasons for insiders to sell shares for whatever. People need money. But there's only one reason that insiders buy stock. It's because they expect it to go up. Otherwise, they wouldn't buy it. I mean, and they must have better data. They must have better information. Bottom line is insiders have been buying the shares. We're seeing why they're buying the shares. Okay, just a question. Now, you said you might do the initial drilling. Now, let's say the first 10 drill holes, and you have cash on hand. How much would it cost actually, do you think, to do like the initial, just to maybe get people, just to show enough good data? How much do you think that would cost?
I mean, I think in the past we've done some drill programs, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 drilled, holes. If you look at Cygnus, over 11,000 meters for they spent $4 million, but they spent some expensive money having to bring in a lot of helicopters, build a road. There's quite a bit of money in there. So I'm sure, we could spend $500,000 and get what we need to get out of it. I mean, if we're encouraged, we'll spend more. I mean, I think the numbers.
And you have plenty of cash. I mean, you got plenty of cash sitting there. You guys have been very careful with it. So, it's a great, really great time for investors to be looking at Stria. Again, we're not making any recommendations, not saying buy, sell shares, but definitely something to keep on the watch list here. We're starting to see, value being created. Again, more eyeballs are on the stock. All of a sudden people are saying on social media, they're waking up right now to the multi-bagger upside here based on what you have with the initial Pontax project, Pontax, here we go. I'm gonna pop this up on the screen. Pontax 1, which we just came out with a maiden resource. You got Pontax 2. So lots of blue sky upside potential. Dean, with that said, okay, we got no more questions right now. So Dean, with that said, I want to thank you for the update. Hopefully we're going to have you back when you come back from the project from Pontax with you got some video, maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that would be great.
We were hoping that this would happen by now. Last month we were saying hopefully by August, but again, the fire situation there has not really cleared up. Apparently, the helicopters are not available, so maybe it'll be a few weeks late. It's not going to be forever. It's just a question of time. I mean, nature. At some point these things, the fires stop and exploration resumes.
Yeah.
All right, Dean. Thank you again.
We'll
catch you for the update from Pontax 2.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much for having me again, Jack.
Again, and thanks everybody for joining us. See you all on the next one.